House Greim have long played soldier, stamping their authority on vast portions of the weapons manufacturing capacity on Necromunda. Strutting about in shiny medals and flaunting their wealth, the noble house has become arrogant and bloated in its somewhat unchecked military dealings. House Greim claims ownership of the titles and structures of Necromunda's militia regiments, from which the Astra Militarum draws troops to serve the Imperium. The noble house has begun conscription of lab-grown soldiers drawn from its close allies of House Goliath, in exchange for the finest quality weapons and war gear produced on Necromunda. The Mercator Sanguis, or Slavers Guild, have always relied on age-old contracts with House Greim, and have in recent times found themselves left in the dark in favour of the superior genetic enhancement of House Goliath's would-be soldiers. No matter the quality of the millions of slaves and pit fighters the Slavers Guild can offer up to House Greim, these prior relations have entirely collapsed, and the Slavers Guild have become insulted and financially wounded by this collapse in their relationship. The Mercator Sanguis are not easily ignored, and to House Greim's serious ignorance the Slavers Guild has already begun arming themselves with a point to prove. Even the noble houses of Necromunda can be made to pay for their mistakes, and the guilds have enough power to shake the very foundations of Necromunda. Attacking in this scenario, we have the Mercator Sanguis, also known as the Slavers Guild, led by the Slave Guild delegation. The first 4 fighters from left to right start off with the Chain Lord, with the Shock Whip and Chain Axe, Bio Booster, Stim Slug, Stash, Carapace Armor, Light, Hurl and Overseer are his skills. Next to him we have the Shackle Man with his Harpoon Launcher and Shock Stave, Flak Armor, Occult Icon and Disarm as his skill. We then have 2 identical pit fighters, both with Chain Glaives, Stim Slug Stash, Flak Armor and Rain of Blows. They come with 2 base attacks as well. The last 3 are of course an Outcast Champion with a Sword and Combi Plasma Stub Pistol with Flak Armor and the Berserker skill. We then have a Pit Prospect with a Shotgun, Solid and Scatter Rounds, a Maul and Flak Armor, and last but not least we have another Outcast Scum Pit Prospect with a Stub Gun and Chainsword with Flak Armor. So the defenders in this Outcast matchup between House Greim and the Slavers Guild, of course we have the military attaché-led Outcast gang with a gang rating of 1000 credits as well. 7 fighters to match the attackers. But first off, starting from left to right, we have the Kriegmeister, a very average leader with very average stats. However, he does look very fancy with his Power Sword, Bolt Pistol, Light Carapace Armor and the Overseer skill. Next to him we have the delightful Jägerkin with her Combat Shotgun, Salvo and Shredder Rounds, Mesh Armor and the Marksman skill, meaning that hit rolls of 6 cause extra damage. Next to that we have 2 House Guard Sergeants, the first one with a Flail and Bolt Pistol, Armoured Undersuit and Layered Flak Armor with the Parry skill. Next to that we have another House Guard Sergeant from House Greim with a Stub Gun, Power Maul and Web Pistol, Armoured Undersuit and Layered Flak Armor with the Hip Shooting skill. You will notice that the rarity level of web pistols is outside of the allowance for an Outcast Champion, however I have made an exception just for the fun of this game. After that we have 3 gangers, all are Outcast Scum, also known as House Guards. The first 2 are identical with auto pistols, shotguns with solid and scatter rounds and mesh armor, and the last on the far right there is a House Guard with auto pistol, auto gun, frag grenades and mesh armor. The factions have set up in this assassination attempt with the defenders over on the left here. We have one of the champions down here, a shotgunner by the shack, another shotgunner and another champion there with the web pistol down below. Auto gunner up on the rafters there, and of course the House Greim attaché firmly safe within the gang stronghold. Over on this side of the table we have everybody in groups, the Shackle Man and one of the Scum with the Chainsword over here on the left. Through the centre we have the Chain Lord and his 2 pit fighters, And over on the right here, the pit fighter champion and another pit fighter with the shotgun. So we get into roll for priority. Alright, so a roll for priority here to see who goes first in this assassination attempt. Of course, the assassination needs to be had on the House Greim Kriegmeister, hold up inside the fortress there. So, yellow for the defenders here. And House Greim will get the first activation of turn 1. So the first activation is a move from this house guard to the railing here, where he's going to buzz off a shot with his auto gun into the left-hand pit fighter over there. Now it is just in range, so we're needing a 4 to hit here as there is no cover. And that will not do it, but it would have been 2 shots over to the pit fighters. The group activation here sees a move from the scummer, nearly into cover, following close behind with his champion over here. A move action from the web pistol champion. Now for the pit fighters, a move group activation under the stairs and into cover here as the shackleman follows close behind. A house guard with a shotgun taking a move action over into hard cover here. The chain lord himself now taking a move action all the way over to here, followed close behind in a group activation by one of the pit fighters. The champion with the flail now moving in behind the gunk tank here, and the last of the pit fighters taking another move action to the corner of this building here as the pit fighters surge forwards. The last of the defenders now, as this shotgunner heads over to the corner here and shoots a solid round into hard cover at this pit fighter, needing a 6 here because there is hard cover. That will not do it. And that is the end of turn 1, as both the House Greim military attaché choose to do nothing. We now head over to priority for turn 2. As we look around the table, the pit fighters are already in the middle of the board here, with the defenders being very careful not to surge forwards too much here. The web pistol in a great position behind that wall there. Now for priority in turn 2. And of course the attackers will get it this time. We head over to the pit fighters, turn 2. Shooting time for this shotgunner as he moves over in front of the difficult terrain to shoot up with his solid shot into cover, needing a 5 here. Will not do it. Over to House Greim. And of course it becomes web pistol time as the web pistol champion rolls over to the corner here and unloads with the web pistol onto both the chain lord and his pit fighter companion here. So web pistol time here as we spray and pray. Now both are hit automatically and there is no cover bonus for web pistols because they are quite frankly disgusting. First we need to roll to see if we're out of ammo. We're not. Now we're wounding the chain lord on a 4 here because strength 4 and toughness 4. That will not do it, but he does become pinned, and the pit fighter is wounded on a 3, strength 4 against toughness 3. Does not do it. So an unfortunate shot there does mean that both the chain lord and his pit fighter are pinned only. Very lucky escape for those two. In response to that, we have the pit fighter champion moving up to his buddy here and shooting with the plasma combi pistol, needing a 4 to hit here. And that will do it. There's no rapid fire on this, but it will be wounding on 3s. That will also do it. Now for saves. At -1 AP with an undersuit and layered flak armor, we need a 5 up here. And he makes it. Now for the shotgunner on the corner here, who aims and shoots at the pit fighter champion, hitting on a 3 here with a solid round from his shotgun. Will not do it on a 1. Terrible shooting so far in this game. A group activation over on this side sees the scummer with the chainsword running down here, trying to get the charge off next turn. And the Shackle Man moving into the open and using his harpoon launcher against hard cover here. Needing a 6. Let's see if we can do it. That will do it. As the harpoon launcher hits its target in hard cover, we now need a 3+ to wound here, which will do it, and there'll be no save as it's -3 AP. Now to see injury. 1 straight injury dice here, and a serious injury is made for the fella on the floor. In retaliation to that, the House Guard Sergeant with the bolt pistol and flail moves over to assist his buddy in recovery whilst buzzing off a bolt pistol shot into the open, needing a 4 here. And that will do it. Wounding on a 3 here. That will also do it. At 2 damage as well, there is a save to be made, but we only have flak armor at -1, so that cannot be done. So, the Shackleman, let's see how many wounds he's got. The Shackleman, hit by a bolt pistol, has no save here, and it's 2 damage. So he takes his first wound, and the other is an injury dice, and another serious injury for the Shackleman. Now for the charge. Pit Fighter charging the downed or pinned Web Pistolier over here, needing minimum, and we get it, of course, with lots and lots of inches here. Moving into versatile range so that the fighter does not get to get reactionary attacks here. Chain Glaive, 3 attacks hitting on 4s here. None of them hit, and that is a woefully disappointing performance for that Pit Fighter right there. Now the auto gunner on the roof aims and shoots into close range at the Pit Fighter, needing a 2 here, and getting it with 2 shots. The Pit Fighter hit by 2 auto gun shots here, both landing on 4s. And one of them will go through with just flak armor to save it. We get a 6-up save here. With a 2, that will not do it. The last activations here, and this is a group activation. The prone Pit Fighter stands to move over into hard cover in support of his buddy next turn. And the Chain Lord decides against the Web Pistol, moves up and goes to stand slightly further back in a safer distance from the Web Pistol. Last but not least, the military attaché shuffle over towards the center with a view to the gate. At the end of turn 2, we have a serious injury on either side. Here the Shackleman has no assists here, so injury dice is made, and he does roll over with a flesh wound. Now toughness 2 for the purpose of this game. Over here we do have an assist, however, so 2 dice are rolled and we pick the best. A flesh wound as well. Both fighters are back in the game. All hell is breaking loose in House Greim versus the Mercator Sanguis here. All sorts of options as we head into turn 3. Let's roll for priority now. Black is the attacker, and House Greim will get the first activation of turn 3. With House Greim, we decide to use the Web Pistol straight away, standing here and spraying over both Pit Fighters as we see to wound them. So both these Pit Fighters hit by the Web Pistol. First of all, we roll ammo check here. No ammo to be made. The first Pit Fighter closest is wounded, and the second is also wounded, on 3s for both of them. Both count now as seriously injured, and as that was a stand and shoot, no coup de grace can be made there. Both of these fighters count as seriously injured for the sake of Web. In retaliation, a charge action is made here. No dice need to be rolled as we are in range. Now, 2 sword attacks and 1 plasma pistol combi weapon attacks in close combat here. All needing, well, 3s for the sword and 4 for the plasma pistol here. And the plasma pistol will miss, as will both swords with 2s. Now for the champion, who gets to turn to face, meaning -1 to hit, as we look at his close combat weapons here. So as we're turning to face, it's -1 to hit here, meaning 4s with the power maul and the stub gun. Both of which miss. Dreadful close combat so far in this game. Just out of close range here, the auto gunner is aiming and shooting into the Pit Fighter down here with the shotgun, needing a 3 here. And with 3 shots and a 5, that will certainly do it. Pinned. as we go and see if this fighter is wounded. 3 auto gun shots here, wounding on 4s, and 2 of them will do it. 1 rolls a 1, so we have flak armor saves of 6 here, 2 to be made, neither of which do it, and that is 2 injury dice. 2 auto gun shots going through here with injury dice. 2 flesh wounds mean that this fighter is now toughness 1. It's Chainlord time with his shock whip and chain axe as he takes a stim slug stash to try and guarantee the charge into the web pistolier. Needing only minimums here, he's increased his movement and that will certainly do it. The Chainlord charges over to help his buddy, getting +1 from the assist here. 2 attacks from the chain axe and 2 attacks from the shock whip as we look for 3s, yellow on the shock whip, and 2s with the chain axe here. Now we get misses on both of the shock whip, but a 4 and a 3 are rolled for the chain axe here. So 2 attacks through with the chain axe here, needing 2s to wound here due to the stim slug stash as well, both of which are 6s, which trigger rending as well, meaning extra damage. So that is 4 damage through on this young fella at -1 AP. He has 2 5-up saves to make. Let's see if we can make it, otherwise he's probably finished off here. Neither save goes through, so that is 4 damage. The fighter takes 1 wound, and then 3 injury dice are made. 4 damage, so 1 wound is taken, and 3 injury dice are made on this champion here. And that is 3 serious injuries, so a coup de grace is made, and the first fighter is taken out of the game so far. The shotgunner on the corner here shoots into the Chainlord at close range with a solid shot from his shotgun. Doesn't hit with a 2 though. But then the after action is to retreat 5 inches back. Another harpoon launcher shot here as the Shackle Man stands, aiming his harpoon launcher into the champion there in soft cover, needing a 5, and that will not do it. House Grime's Sergeant here charging, gets a 6 for the charge, meaning 3 extra inches, which will guarantee a charge into the Shackle Man here with a flail and a bolt pistol. 2 attacks with a flail here, hitting on 2s, and a bolt pistol hitting on 3s here. That will do it with everything. If there is an ammo check on the bolt pistol, however, which does run out of ammo, however, all of them go through. Now to see if we wound. Wounding on 4 3s with the flail here. Both of them go through. As there's only flak armor, there are 2 6-up saves to be made. The first one is made. The second one is just failed. However, the bolt pistol here is also wounding on 3s, and that will do it. With a -1, there is no save to be made, meaning 3 damage. This fighter's already taken 1 wound, so 3 damage go through for the Shackle Man. And he's dead. Out of action, and that's another casualty in this very brutal game so far. Another charge over here, needing the full amount to get over this piece of hardcover over to here, so we're needing a 5 or 6 here. We'll do it, so we will get into close combat here, leaping over this difficult terrain into close combat here, and the fighter stands preparing to get attacked with a chainsword and a stub gun. 2 attacks with the chainsword now, hitting on 3s, and a stub gun hitting on 4s here. So we go and see what happens here. Now the stub gun will miss, and an ammo check needs to be made here. The stub gun is out of ammo. One of the chainswords misses, and one of the chainswords hits here. Now we'll be wounding on 3s, and that will not do it, meaning that we do get reactionary attacks here, and we're out of ammo on the stub gun. Now 1 unarmed attack and an auto pistol in reaction to this. Let's see what happens here. Neither of which will hit, and that is that for close combat. Now for the House Guard's actual activation, as he attempts a fight here again with the auto pistol and open hand here, hitting on 4s, neither of which will do it. Back over to the pit fighters. The pit fighter with the shotgun here decides to, with only 1 flesh wound, stand and move over into some kind of cover over on the right here. The House Greim Jägerkin and Kriegmeister decide to stay in relative safety behind the locked doors as we move over to the last pit fighter activations here, and they are both crawl actions. 1 is seriously injured, moves 2 inches this way. and the other one moves slightly towards his fellow compatriots. As we end turn 3 here, I think we do have a bottle check to be made. So the end of turn 3 here, we have close combat locked in here. A champion apiece has gone from this game, but we do have 2 serious injuries out for the pit fighters, meaning that they will bottle on a 5 or 6 if they are unlucky here. Let's see what happens. They will not, they'll stick in the game, and now we'll roll for priority. Black being the attackers here, and House Greim will get it again. Before we kick off the action though, we do have a recovery roll to be made here with an assist. Staying the same with 2 serious injuries, and the other pit fighter over there, just 1 dice here. And he is flesh wounded and back in the game. So the auto gunner on the roof there decides to aim and throw a frag grenade right in between these 3 fighters here, as he sees this is the only opportunity to really try and hurt these guys. Now, we're going to be hitting on 3s here. That will not do it, so it does mean that it will scatter here. Let's see where it goes. So we go d6 inches. That way 2 inches will still hit the Chain Lord, which means he will be pinned. Wounding the Chain Lord on a 5 here. That will not do it. Do we run out of frag grenades, most importantly? We don't. In response to that, we have a group activation. The Chain Lord standing and moving his 4 inches towards the gate as his fellow champion moves over this way into cover next to his buddy on the floor there who has recovered with a flesh wound, and he's now going to pop off a plasma pistol shot into this champion here. So, needing a 4+ here. That will not do it. With his bolt pistol out of ammo, we do declare a charge here with the flail champion. It only needs a 1 to get in there, so automatically getting into close combat with the pit fighter here, who stands. Now we've got 2 attacks with the flail here, hitting on 2s, as it's +1 to hit. 1 will hit, strength 4 against toughness 3 means a wound of 3, and that will not do it. Chain glaives are pretty unwieldy, so they're -1 to hit here. So 2 attacks hitting back, reactionary attacks here, hitting back on 5s here with the chain glaive, but if one of these goes through, it could be devastating. And one of them does go through, of course, at +2 strength, means that we're wounding on 3s here. That will also do it. At -2 AP, we have a 6-up save here. That will not do it. So 2 damage goes through, so this champion takes 1 wound and 1 injury dice here. Seriously injured. And that is that until the pit fighter activates to make the coup de grace. In retaliation to that, the pit fighter will make the coup de grace, meaning the second House Greim champion is out of the game. He will then make a move action towards his buddy over here to try and assist in recovery. Shotgunner conscript here moves back towards the corner of the fortress and shoots a solid round into the pit fighter who's just moved there at close range, meaning we're hitting on 3s. And that will do it and trigger knockback with a 4 there. Now we'll be wounding on 3s here. That will also do it, in fact, because he was flesh wounded prior to this, if I remember. So he's knocked back and wounded. At no AP, we do have a flak armor save here of a 6-up. And that will not be made on a 5, meaning 2 damage here for this solid shot, and another serious injury and a flesh wound, meaning this is toughness 1 effectively now. With his stub gun out of ammo, we have 2 chainsword attacks here hitting on 3s. With a 5 and a 2, 1 will go through. Wounding on a 3 here, that will do it. Now it's -1 AP, so there is no save to be made on this young fella down below. However, straight to injury roll here, as we see what happens in this exchange. With another flesh wound, meaning toughness 1 for this fighter, he does get reactionary attack here. With an unarmed attack and a sidearm of an auto pistol in close combat here, hitting on 4s as a reaction. And that will do it with 2 shots from the auto pistol, both of which will be wounding on 4s here. And neither of them go through, still locked in combat over here between these 2. Now for the House Guard's activation, he's also going to make a fight action with his auto pistol and bare fist hitting on 4s here. And the fist will hit, but there's an ammo check to be made on the auto pistol, which also runs out. However, we're wounding on 4s here. That will do it. A flak armor save is needed from the pit fighter, which does not do it, meaning an injury dice to be rolled here. There's another flesh wound in this game of flesh wounds. First one for this pit fighter as they remain locked in combat. Trying the gate now, this toughness 1 pit fighter will move up to the gate and attempt to open it. A d6 plus his strength, and a 9 is needed here, meaning a 6 doesn't quite do it. The House Greim attaché stays put in their relative safety again for this turn, waiting until the onslaught breaks through the gates. And that is the end of turn 4. We have bottle checks to be made for both. The pit fighters, or the Mercator Sanguis, will be bottling here on a 5. They won't do it, and we'll be bottling on a 6 for the other gang here. So neither bottle now be rolled for priority, and House Greim will get it again as we head into turn 5. 2 recovery rolls to be made here for both of these pit fighters. This one here rolls a flesh wound, rolls over with his first flesh wound of the game, and the second pit fighter here remains seriously injured. He is effectively out of the game with only toughness 1. House Greim House Guard aiming and shooting with a solid round into the now recovered pit fighter here, needing a 3. Will not do it with a 1 and triggers an ammo check, meaning a 4 up needs to be made here. He's still got ammo on his shotgun, and that's both of his actions used up. Pit fighter champion here, aiming to charge over into the shotgunner, needing a 5 or 6 here. Will not do it with a 4, but he will get close, meaning that we're nearly within an inch there. Another House Guard here, aiming and shooting his auto gun into the prone pit fighter on the right there. Close range and aiming, meaning we're hitting on a 2 here. With a 5, that will hit with 1 shot there. Now he has been flesh wounded, so it does mean that we'll be wounding on 3s here. With a 5, that will do it. Flak armor of a 6 up does not make the save, which means an injury dice is rolled for this pit fighter here, and he is now seriously injured again. Let's attempt to open this door. The Chain Lord moves into position here. Now he's strength 4, and he gets +2 from his buddy here, meaning that we need a 3 or more to open the gate here. That will do it. The gate becomes open over to the House Greim military attaché. Now they're in the game. So the Jägerkin unloads with her combat shotgun from where she is, hitting both the Chain Lord and the pit fighter. But first an ammo check is needed to be made here. With a ammo, we're out of ammo on the combat shotgun so far. First shot in the game. Both of these fighters are hit with lots of shots, I imagine. So the first scatter shot, 5 on the Scummer and 5 on the Chain Lord. Very nice indeed. These are only strength 2, but if any of them go through, this could be problematic. Shredder rounds now. Onto the Scummer. He's toughness 1 effectively, so we're wounding on 2s here. And they will all go through. Now flak armor means we have 6 up saves to be made. Can we make 5 6 ups here? Only one of them, so that's 4 wounds going through onto the pit fighter, meaning 4 damage here. Let's have a look. 2 flesh wounds, he bleeds out, and he is dead as well, meaning that this pit fighter exits the game. Now for the Hive Lord, or the Chain Lord should I say, 5 of these went through as well, but these will be wounding on 5s. In fact 6s should I say. 2 of them do go through, and 2 more. That's 2 through with carapace armor, light carapace armor, providing a 4 up save here. Both of them of course are saved by the Chain Lord. We should have a pretty interesting piece of fighting here very soon. Now for 2 chainsword attacks over here, hitting on 3s. We roll a 1 and a 6, so 1 does go through, and that will also be wounding on 2s now. And that does it with rending, meaning 2 damage. Can this House Greim Guard survive this? 2 damage here. And he is dead and taken out of action in this game, as it gets very brutal. The Chainsword Pit Fighter, second activation, is to move towards the shotgunner. Last but not least, the Kriegmeister retreats all the way into the corner, leaving his Jägerkin to deal with the Chain Lord next turn. All we have from these 2 fighters are crawl actions towards the gate, and that is the end of that. At the end of a very violent turn, of course, we do have bottle checks to be made here. House Greim will be bottling here on a 5 up. So they will bottle and need to make those checks. And for the pit fighters here, we'll be bottling on a 4. And they will not bottle. They are definitely in this to win this. Now for priority. Let's see. Yellow for the defenders here. And this time the pit fighters will get priority. Now we'll roll for recovery. Recovery checks to be made here. The one with 2 flesh wounds on the floor there stays the same, and the other one is dead. First up for the pit fighters, we have another charge action. Well in range here, as the chainsword wielder, who's already finished off one, chooses to attack twice with his chainsword, both of which will be hitting and wounding on 3s here. Both of which go through with no rending. That's -1 AP, and flak armor provides absolutely no save whatsoever as we roll 2 injury dice here. And a coup de grace is made from the serious injury. Another fighter goes out of action. Now for the Jägerkin, as she tries to reload her shotgun. Fails to do it. She's going to try again, as it's a simple action, and she fails again miserably. I missed to do it on camera, but the bottle checks were made for House Greim, and they were absolutely fine. Over to the pit fighters now. So we have a move action up towards his chain lord, his champion, into position. Another house guard now, moving over to the very corner and shooting his auto gun at close range down into actually soft cover from the angle. So we're going to be needing 4s here for the auto gun. And that will not do it, triggering another ammo check with a 4 up needed. He passes the ammo check over to the pit fighters. The last activation is to stand and move into the room with the chain lord ignoring the Jägerkin. 3 on 3 here. A bottle check was just made of a 2, meaning the pit fighters will stick in the game. However, now we have priority to be made here. Black for the attackers. Ooh, and House Greim will get it in this one. But should they bottle out? That is the question. Cool check to be made for the Kriegmaster, needing a 6 up here. He will do it, and everybody else is within 12 inches, meaning that they do get the drop on the pit fighters. The Jägerkin, in defense of her leader, charges with 2 attacks with nothing but open hands, hitting on 4s here. One of them will go through. This will be wounding on 5s. Does do it. We have carapace armor for the chain lord, who doesn't make it and takes a wound. However, he does return the favor. Reactionary attacks here from the chain lord. 2 chain axe attacks, 1 shock whip. The chain axe will be hitting on 2s. The shock whip is -1 to hit in close combat, will be hitting on 4s. And 2 chain axe will go through, and the shock whip, in fact all of them will go through here. The shock whip will auto wound with a 6, but the chain axe, needing 3s here, will also wound with rending, meaning that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 wounds to be made here. 4 damage here from those 3 attacks, and we have 4 mesh armor saves to be made here. And none of them are saved, with a 2, a 4, a 3, and a 3, meaning 4 damage on this poor Jägerkin here. 4 damage to be made on the Jägerkin, and she is dead, flesh wounded and seriously injured all at once. Very nasty indeed. Now for a charge action from the chain lord. The most important thing here, he has used his stim slug stash and he did not succumb to any injuries, but we need high here. 2 inches, will that do it? We need 6 inches here. It will just make it into combat with the Kriegmaster, and this could get very ugly indeed. 2 chain axes hitting on 2s, 2 shock whips hitting on 4s here. Now the shock whips will hit and the chain axes will hit, triggering an auto wound on one of the shock whips there. So 1 goes straight through, the others are wounding on 3s here. That will do it with 2 more. However, no rending. So 3 saves to be made here with carapace armor, -1 on the chain axe, meaning 5s. 1 of them is saved, so 1 goes through, and the shock whip now. A wound is taken on the Kriegmaster. Now for the injury rolls, 2 to be made here. A serious injury and a flesh wound will mean the Kriegmaster is assassinated, and the pit fighters will win in this brutal and bloody assassination attempt. So it turns out House Greim bit off more than they could chew. Don't mess with the Mercator Sanguis, as this chain lord, looking imperious, takes out the opposition Kriegmaster. If you enjoyed this, please do like, share, subscribe, and check out my Patreon as well, and I'll be back with another narrative battle report real soon. Peace out.